Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Climate Action Homes podcast. And on this session, I'm going to be telling you all about the hot tips that I picked up from Housapalooza. To another episode. So what I'm going to be sharing is a little bit of a hodgepodge, but some really kind of cool tips that I heard at the Denver Metro Association of Realtors. They hosted an event called Housapalooza. And I'm just going to pull out a few of the top things that I learned. But before I dive into that, I want to just introduce myself if you haven't already been watching. My name is Joan Gregerson. I'm a realtor with eXp Realty, and my focus is this idea of climate action homes. I want to help people use that opportunity when buying and selling homes to make a big positive impact on your carbon footprint, on just the way that we are in nature and with the environment. So let's dive in. So one of the first things I wanted to say as far as the backdrop is I think of April as Earth Month with all the fun Earth Day stuff, but it's also Fair Housing Month. And one of the key things that we learn as realtors is our role in ensuring that there is fair housing. And one of the things that we are taught to do is instead of advertising for the buyer, we want to advertise the property. So what do I mean by that? I mean that we try and stay away from things like perfect for singles or near a certain church. Anything that would be kind of advertising that it's for some people and excluding other people. So if you're ever asking your realtor, well, is this neighborhood safe? Or what's the demographics of this neighborhood? Those are things that we as realtors, we can point you to the source. You can look at crime statistics if that's what you're thinking of for safety. You can look at the demographics at the US Census.gov. But we as realtors have to be super careful to not be doing something called steering, especially, which is, if you're a certain age or a certain ethnicity, or I see a certain skin color, that I might think, you'd want to be in this neighborhood. So that is against all the fair housing practices. And, that goes back to redlining and all the generational wealth issues that we see. And one of the great speakers that was at DMAR is Albus Brooks, who was the city council lead for Denver for a while, an affordable housing advocate. And he just had so much great information about how things like the GI Bill. So my dad, when he came back from the war, he was able to buy a house. They eventually bought a house in Congress Park, just him working with my mom, staying home with 8 kids. And a lot of that was due to the GI Bill, that leg up that he was able to finish his college degree and be able to buy a house. But all of the Black veterans, African-American veterans, were excluded from the GI Bill. So understanding the legacy of discrimination, of prejudice, means that we as realtors have to be careful of any implicit bias that we may have that may be preventing the accumulation of wealth or the freedom of choice for anybody that wants to live anywhere. So I just wanted to make sure that I hit that first, and then I'm going to share my screen and show you a few of the websites of the kind of cool resources that we talked about. One of them along that line, so that's why I wanted to tie this, is called Dearfield Fund. And if you know, Dearfield is the name of a homestead, a Black homestead that was started by this guy, OJ Toussaint Jackson, and his wife, Minerva, I think, in Colorado, which later folded. But so the name Dearfield is something to remember. So if you are someone that is African American, or you're working with someone who is, make sure that they know about these this program. It's really kind of a cool thing. What they do is they provide no interest down payment funds, and then when the house sells, that person is then obligated to repay with 5% of the home's appreciation. So it's a really cool kind of bank, like pool of money that gets repaid over time. So if you're someone who wants to get going and think that you may not have down payment, then it's really good to know about Dearfield. But another one that's open to everyone in Colorado is called CHFA, the Colorado Housing Finance Administration, but it just goes by CHFA, CHFA info.com. And CHFA has two different kinds of down payment assistance, and you have to qualify for them, but one is a loan that you repay, and one is just an all-out grant. And the thing is, you may have enough down payment, but you're also going to have to pay closing costs. So one thing that the person from CHFA was talking about was that a lot of times when people buy a home, they will just end up with like $3 in their bank because they've just wiped themselves out in that home buying process. So think about getting that CHFA loan so that you, or the grant, so that you're able to do the down payment and or the closing costs, so that you have a little bit of money to be able to do that. So that's CHFA. One of the first things to do is just hop in here, and there is free homebuyer education. And in fact, if you are going to apply for one of these programs, the first thing that you do is complete the home ownership course. So that's a great thing to start with. And the presenter from CHFA was saying, I wish that everyone was required to do this homebuyer education. So that's a great place to start for anyone. Another cool thing that was talked about, the founder, one of the co-founders from Accept.inc, and his name is Adam Pollock. Right now that there is a preference out there in the market for a lot of sellers. If, let's say, they have 5 people that have mortgage, a loan offer, and then one person has a cash offer, they may just choose to go with that cash person. And so Accept.inc is an option. Let's say that you've been either putting offers in, or you've been hearing about people putting offers in and getting them rejected or not accepted. Then if you want to have a cash offer, then you might want to check out Accept.inc. And it's a really interesting thing. What it basically does is they see if it seems like you're going to be able to get the loan, and if the house is worth that amount, and if they feel like it is, then they're basically providing the cash to you, and then you get the loan afterwards to pay them back. So it's a little complicated, but it's a really cool option. And one of the things that Adam was saying was, this is not your parents' home buying, home selling market. Things are different. And so if you are getting stuck, then consider doing things differently. So Accept.inc is one way to go. Another thing that came up was the person from, let's see, what are we looking at here? Well, 2 things. The person that was presenting from Chase was talking about how they do have a pretty big initiative to help first-time home buyers. And so they have some products there that are available. But there's also two other things. One is they have a podcast called Beginner to Buyer. So if you're a podcast listener and you're someone that loves podcasts, you might want to check that out. Beginner to Buyer, and all kinds of interesting things like, are you ready? Why does it matter? What does a real estate agent do? So there's that. And then they also have a program called Credit Journey. So one of the things that she said, the representative said that was amazing, she said half of the people that come to them do not have a credit history. So it makes business sense for a financial company, but it makes sense for you too. So if your credit history isn't there or you need to do something, they have a program called Credit Journey. And most banks do have something or can refer you. So I think the takeaway from all these different presentations was, don't let your limiting beliefs stop you. There's probably a program, a person, a path, a way to get to where you want to be. That buying a home is one of the most common ways for people to build wealth, to build intergenerational wealth, to build the kind of wealth that allows you to put your kids through college or do whatever that next thing is that you want to do. And so if it's something that you're set on, then reach out to me, reach out to your bank, reach out to these different programs, and let's get something going so that you can get to where you want. Another quick tip that somebody else mentioned is they said, I don't tell people get your dream home, because in this market, what you want to do is get your first home. And once you get your first home, then you're going to have that kind of leverage, more likely than not, to be able later to go and get your next home as you approach what your dream home is. All right. So the last thing that I wanted to tell you about was it's just kind of something cool that I learned. And so I was going to just kind of test it out with you. If you are a homeowner and you're wondering what the value is of your home, then I would love to do a CMA, like a competitive market analysis. And basically what it does is it tells you what is the wealth that you've accumulated in your home. And if you were to sell it, what would be that net that you walk away with? So those are really two different parts of it. So if I put an address in here, this part is just for fun, right? It's just kind of showing you where this thing is. So let's say I just put an address in of a condo in Windsor Gardens. You can scale back out a little bit here and see this is the Windsor Gardens community in Denver. So if we wanted to do if you owned this property here and you're wondering, how much is that actually worth these days? Well, what we can do as realtors is go into our MLS and put in any kind of criteria that we want. So what I did for the criteria in this case is I said, so that unit is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot unit. It's in Windsor Gardens. There's two communities two neighborhoods that are linked. So I put both of them in there. And I said, I want to see any of them that have sold within the last 30 days or the ones that are active right now. So then when we look at the results, we can see at the top are the active ones. So these are ones that are actually for sale right now. So you can see that the other units in this neighborhood that are for sale have they're going for anywhere from $215,000 to $299,000. It's like, all right, well, that's a pretty wide range. But those are what people are asking right now. That's not what they have sold for. So I'm going to go ahead and take the active ones off. And so now let's just look at the ones that have sold in the last 30 days. So when you look at these, you can see that we have all these units here, and the prices of the ones that sold were anywhere from 226,000 to 315,000. And we can look on the map and see where these actually were. And so, as you're working with your realtor and we know more details about your place, like has it been recently renovated, and how many parking spots do you have? Have you already replaced the windows? What are some of those details? Then the more that we know about your house and the more that we know about these other houses, we'll be able to zoom in and get a little bit closer. So let's say that we decide that we really just want to look at these right here. So now we've just limited our search to those that we just put into that square. So now we have a few fewer, and we're saying 235 to 308. So then the next thing that we can do is go ahead and do a quick CMA. And what this does is it's just going to look at all those different details and organize them in a way that's super easy for you to understand. So here's one thing that's really interesting is what was the closing price compared to the list price? So you can see these were anywhere 94 to 101%. So that means a couple of them, I guess just one was over asking price in the last 30 days. I mean, that's interesting to know, right? Because the average is more than that. The average for Denver is going significantly over the asking price. I mean, more than 1%. So then you can see the summary down here, the min, the max, the average, the median. Another important number you can see here is days on market or days in market. And you can see the minimum was 1 day on the market. And this one that went for 313, let's see, it's saying 20 and 75. I'm not sure which, oh, I see what's going, it's all different kind of, it's not the same unit. But anyhow, so you can see like the maximum number of days on market was 75, the average was 18, and the median was 8, so, or 10. So, somewhere in that 10 to 18 days would be what you could expect if you decided to sell your house and you had it in this neighborhood. And then you can also see things like the price per square foot of, around $230 or so per square foot. So that's the first part of the market analysis. And then the next thing that we do is, and I won't be able to do it with this one because I don't know their details, but the next thing we do is we create a seller net sheet. And basically all we do is you want to know, well, okay, I know there's costs of selling my home. There's taxes, I have to pay off my mortgage, there's commissions for the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, there's title insurance. Like, what is, at the end of the day, what could I expect? And so that's what, those homeowners association, any other expenses that you might have. So we put these all together and then calculate it. And then you'll be able to see, which this isn't really accurate, right? Because we didn't put all that information in there. But you'll be able to see, if I was to sell my home, what would I walk away with? What's a good better than ballpark, but not exact number. All right, so that's, I think, the main things that I wanted to tell you about today was just some of the cool stuff that I've been working on as I've been doing all this. And the other thing is that I'm part of eXp Realty, and we have a metaverse for our company office. So it's like, I just thought it would be so weird, but it's actually kind of cool to go, you open an app and then you have like a little avatar, and if you're going to a certain auditorium, you walk and then you click which auditorium, and then you find your seat and you walk in and you can see the presenter's avatar on stage with the other screens. It's actually kind of cool. So I'll try and keep you in the loop as far as what I'm learning, the experiences I'm having with eXp Realty. So far, I just love it. I love all the systems. I love the support that I've been getting, which is way more than what I experienced initially. So if you know anybody who's looking for a real estate agency, wants to know more about eXp, I'd love to talk to them, let them know what I'm finding. All right, so that is it for today's podcast. A little bit of a hodgepodge, this, that, and the other. But I think the underlying message, as I was saying earlier, is if you want to make something happen, let's do it. If you need down payment, you need credit repair, you need to document your income. These are things that can be done. And the best time to start working on that is right now. Again, my name is Joan Gregerson with Climate Action Homes. You can go to climateactionhomes.com and book a call with me. And I would love to help you make your home ownership, your home selling, whatever those goals are of yours, help them come true. All right. And I will see you soon. Thank you.